Welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and we are covering cybersecurity again. This is our fourth episode on cybersecurity. Today we have Dave Braun, CEO and founder of Pro Website Creators. Dave, thanks for joining us.
Awesome and honored to be here, Jeff.
And I'm glad to have you. And as you're watching this, I've known Dave for several years, have learned a lot from him. So, all transparency, wouldn't invite somebody on if I wasn't someone I've had personal experience with that knows, they know what they're doing. And Dave, you definitely do. You bring a lot to the table on websites and so much more in the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah, it's a wild ride being in the entrepreneurial space and digital areas. Oh my gosh, wild ride. It's fun.
I want to ask about WordPress. So many people use WordPress these days, and I hear some say, "Yeah, it's great. You just, as long as you got it set up right, you're doing good." And I've heard others say, "Yeah, you got to be careful with WordPress because there's a lot of cybersecurity issues that if you don't know about, you can really be in deep trouble." So, I mean, what are one of the two common things that you've seen that have made created problems for entrepreneurs that are using WordPress?
Yeah, so there's something that you have to consider with this. One of the things is, just looking at some stats, WordPress makes up 42 as of, I just looked it up before the show, 42.5% of all websites.
42.5%.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's the latest numbers as of September 1st, which was today.
Holy cow.
And it's only growing. So, and then the other thing is, WordPress gets hacked. Definitely. Well, guess what? Microsoft Office gets hacked as well. T-Mobile gets hacked. The government gets hacked, our pipelines get shut down, right? It's just a general problem in the industry, right? And in any industry where you've got, you're exposed to the internet, right? So, but there are some things that you should do that you really have to do, or else WordPress can be a ticking time bomb.
Can you give us one example real quick?
Yeah, one of the things is you got to make sure that all of your plugins and themes stay updated.
Ooh.
Okay. Make sure that they stay updated. You need to do it on a regular basis, and ideally you're on some kind of an email list, or you have a security plugin that will alert you to when there's security holes going that are out there, because they're constantly coming. They come on your devices, they come on your on your PC software and everything. It's just the nature of anything that's popular. There's going to be a lot of people trying to get into it. So that would be one of the very big things. Another big thing is to make sure that you've got a good password. Okay. And what that means is multiple characters in it. It's got to be like at least 12 characters. I mean, you don't put in something like 123 password, or you don't put in your first and last name, that kind of stuff, right? Make sure it's good. Yeah.
Well, no, I was just going to say, it amazes me that one of the big issues that we're still talking about in 2021 is passwords. And they have diligence with passwords, because when I was still in the corporate world in the early 1990s, we got drilled on that on a regular basis. Change passwords. Here's what you don't do. Don't use password. Don't use 1, 2, 3, 4. But yet those still seem to be frighteningly common.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you think about today, it can get overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got access to my medical records now online. I've got access to my banking. I've got access to my site and all that kind of stuff. So really, if you're thinking you're watching this, you're going to say, I'm going to go change all my passwords. You should, but make sure you start with the things that, if it gets hacked, for example, that would cause you the most pain and suffering. So make sure, for example, your bank account. Another thing that really helps will be to use two-factor authentication on your site.
Which is one of the things I appreciate about StreamYard, the tool that we're using for this broadcast. They use two-factor.
Yeah. Set that up.
Have to worry about having the stream hacked like some other products have had challenges with.
And then there's some subtleties with that as well to keep that as secure as possible, right? So, I mean, you can go really deep, but the biggest thing is make sure you keep all of your software updated and everywhere on all of your devices, and then good quality passwords. And
Well,
like I said,
and
don't, yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but
No, no, go ahead.
when you mentioned the plugins, as I go
Yeah.
on, yeah, there's a blind spot that I wouldn't normally think of because WordPress, we've likely got 6, 10, 12 plugins to make the site optimize, to optimize it so it's functioning well. Plus the proliferation of apps on phones and computers and whatnot. There's so many other things that need to be updated. It's not as simple as it used to be, where you'd have maybe the operating system, one or two key pieces of software, and then didn't have to really worry about much else.
Exactly. I mean, it's as more and more people, use the internet. I mean, we've seen this during the pandemic, as more and more people use the internet for everything, shopping, communication, like what we're doing. Their businesses are being wrapped around it. There's going to be more and more people that try to hack in. And and Jeff, one of the things that a good way to help with this, to think about it too, is you've heard the analogy of, you're there with a friend in the woods and there's a bear that's going to coming at you and is going to getting ready to eat you, right? How fast do you have to run, right? You've heard that?
Faster than the other guy.
That's right. So that's right. So what we're talking about here in the security aspect of things is just, do more than everybody else, and it will help you a lot. Make them go after somebody else.
Don't be the easy mark.
That's right.
I appreciate that. Now, you've been involved with this for quite some time. How did you get started with doing websites, even with the entrepreneurial lifestyle?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I worked in the corporate world in high tech for almost 30 years, and then
wow, that's a long run.
Yeah, almost 30 years. Yeah, I started when I was 5 years old, right? But I got a little bit of gray hair. Not really. Anyways, I did a little bit of network marketing, and I caught the entrepreneurial bug, and I just didn't want everybody else to have control over my life, right? And so the company went bankrupt, and so they couldn't afford me anymore. I said, screw the corporate world for now. And what should I do? In the meantime, what I was doing to keep up my programming skills was I was doing a couple of mobile apps at the time. And, if you do a mobile app, they were only iOS at the time for the Apple. And what you have to do is you have to have a website that goes along with it. So believe it or not, the first ones I did, I hired somebody to build a website for me. And then afterwards, I'm like, I need to be doing this myself. And I started enjoying it, educating myself. And then pretty soon started realizing how much a great website can, there's so many reasons why you need to have a great website for your life and your business, right? And so I've realized the impact that can have on people. And so I just decided that, I need to make a little bit of a business on this. Let's see what we can do on this. So that's kind of what happened.
Well, and that's also led to, having built a successful business, that's also led to working with other entrepreneurs as they're building their businesses as well.
Right. And one of the things is, I do a lot of entrepreneurial coaching with Larry Broughton, my buddy and my friend. We're partners in Ugozi. And one of the things that's so important for that is, like Larry owns a hotel management company, Broughton Hotels. I have pro website creators, and then we coach entrepreneurs. So we're in the thick of things, right? We're still executing. We're trying to grow our businesses. We're trying to, get new customers, do new products and services while we're coaching other folks. So we are, kind of staying up to date on everything.
Well, up to date and then some, because you hear that constant feedback from what kind of challenges are entrepreneurs running into, what innovations are they coming up with to scale their businesses, and applying that with your business, but also sharing back what you're learning on the journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the examples is, now that we're doing so much virtual, how does that affect company growth, interactions, morale, benefits? It's crazy. So we're dealing with that ourselves, so we can help others navigate it as well.
Yes, absolutely. And especially after the last, after 2020, which was quite an amazing year with the great shutdown and lots of other things. And it just seems that for entrepreneurs that are looking and that are learning from other entrepreneurs that there's a lot of opportunity out there, because there's such a big pile of stuff that's been rained down on us all over the last year and a half, that
Yeah.
there's got to be some great opportunities, right? It's got to be a pony or two in there, as the saying goes.
Oh, absolutely. There's always opportunities with the way our society is and capitalism, et cetera. There's always opportunities because capitalism solves problems. When you solve problems, those bring up new problems for other people to solve or yourself. So it's cool.
Absolutely. Well, and speaking of new problems that are coming up, coming back to
Okay.
the cybersecurity issues, is cybersecurity really getting worse per se, or is it just because there's so much more software, so much more activity on the internet that we're now, I don't know, what am I trying to say? As a rational measure, like say hours of use of the internet, hackings per hours of use or something like that. Is it really getting worse, or is it just because there's so much more going on there? It's now part of our conversation, where because people weren't using the internet that much, they weren't really paying that much attention to it.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think part of it is, we are becoming more and more accustomed to doing everything online. So that means that we're, it's more of a forefront in our minds, right? That's part of it. Another part of it, and this is something that made a lot of sense to me when I heard about it, is, if somebody decides to hack into your site, I mean, there's multiple reasons why they would do that. It helps to understand those reasons. And then you can watch out for them. But one of the things they'll do is, and you've heard of ransomware, right?
Yes.
Right. So basically they come in and encrypt everything on your site, your server, or wherever it is. And they say, hey, pay us some money, and then we'll give you the key to unlock and everything, right? So most of the time, those payments are done in Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency. Well, 5 years ago, you didn't have that, right? So cryptocurrency is not very traceable. It's very difficult to trace. But dollars and cents and credit cards and all that kind of stuff, it's easier to trace. So that's, if people can get paid and make a lot of money for it, then they're going to do it. And it's
the unintended incentives that are created.
Yeah. So that's just like one little aspect of how, because you always have to think about, somebody's going to hack into my site, what is the financial advantage for them to do that? Now, there are some people who do it just for fun because they're mean. But I think most of the time it's because there's a financial reason or some benefit for them doing it.
That would make sense.
Like another thing that
where the money is, right?
Yeah, another thing that they would do is they would go in and they would put in some software, hack into your server or your site, put in some software on it, and then they would run, these programs that would gradually send out emails, spam emails, using your server resources. They put these on a whole bunch of sites, and pretty soon they're generating, hundreds of thousands of these phishing emails. All it takes is a few of those things for a few people to bite on those. It's like you have 1,000 poles in the pond. If you want to get your dinner, you just need one or two to bite, right? And so that's been a strategy that they would do. So you got to watch out for those. So you got to it helps to understand what the incentive is for people to do that stuff.
So in order to be able to put the most effective security in place.
Yeah. And to what to watch out for and what to be concerned about.
Okay. Something that surprised me, a headline that I saw, actually, I think it was this morning, that because so many more people are working remote, that now with the hackers went back to phishing attacks instead of attacks on servers in order to get access to people's home routers. And they're actually not just to hack into the systems, but now they're selling off the bandwidth, the internet bandwidth, after they've hacked into the home routers for people that are doing who knows what.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, they're always inventing new ways. For sure. Yeah, so there's multiple things you have to keep secure in your life right now. I mean, that is one of them. That's a great example, is your routers and your systems. If you've got a camera, that's got to be, kept up to date, your phones, your computers, right? And then of course your websites as well.
Well, and also with remote work, I've seen some companies are relying on the equipment that people had at home anyway. Especially working professionals usually have a reasonable, they can almost run a company out of their house with what they've got at home. Whereas other companies have prepared entire kits that they give to their team, their employees, to set up at home, which then they have their IT folks control, so they have better security on that.
Yeah, typically those kind of things will be, you're tunneling in through a VPN, so everything that you're doing is totally encrypted. Your IP address is hidden, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So those can be good things to do, depending upon what you do. And there, of course, there's always a cost to those as well. So you just got to balance out what types of security needs you have. There one thing that might help. I know a lot of people do WordPress. There's an acronym that I didn't come up with, but folks in my mentoring group came up with that could help folks remember what to do on their sites. You want to share it?
Okay. Yes, please do. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked from WordPress. Hold that thought for just a second.
Okay.
Because you see so many headlines, and I like what I'm hearing from you, because the headlines that we're getting blasted with, it's like, oh my gosh, we're about to have a digital meltdown at any moment, which really, is how much of that is Chicken Little, the sky is falling, and how much of that is real serious threat. But to hear that, okay, look, here's yes, there's concerns. Here's a rational approach to it, so that people aren't panicked about what they're doing, panicked about the risk online.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this one thing, and it's not that I'm cynical at all. It's just reality, right?
Okay.
Is that, your level of exposure a lot of times is related to your income,
Okay.
So for example, a company like the pipeline shut down, right? That happened, and the hacking that went on there. Well, I mean, those people aren't targeting me, but they're targeting them because, having that pipeline shut down costs millions and millions of dollars. So there's an opportunity for a big payout for the hackers, right? And unfortunately, with the media, the way it is when I say follow the money, you follow the money there as well, because the media, they need you to click on their sites and watch their stuff. They earn their money through advertising, which is generated through your attention. So they're gonna bring out the stuff that is, oh, wow, shocking. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they will. So yeah, you just have to be concerned and take it with a grain of salt. But if you are a CEO of a pretty big company and all of that stuff, you need to really have some major resources dedicated to watching your security, your company.
But
then I was going to say one other thing is on that is you find a lot of times what happens even there is people, hackers get access through a person in the company who does not practice safe, secure measures, right? They have a weak password. They click on some stupid phishing email, right? So sometimes it's not about all the policies and the protections that are in place. Sometimes some of the folks in the company will just kind of do stupid things. So if you're a person in a big company, or even you have a few people, you really need to make sure you spend a little bit of time on educating your folks on this stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So that's like the legend of the Great Wall of China. It never kept invaders out because they would always just bribe one of the gatekeepers. They come through, and it never served its purpose like that. I don't know how true that is, but there's a legend about that going, just bribe the gatekeeper. You don't need to go over the wall.
Yeah, then that's
someone to open the door.
And
sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes it happens by accident because somebody goes, oh, that looks interesting. And like you pointed out, they click on it. And it's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Great example.
I just gave someone access.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so coming back to the acronym you're going to share, and this is what got me thinking about what I sidetracked on, which is this brings some rational thought, right? It's like going, okay, yeah, we've got the hype. We need to sort through the hype. There's some legitimate concern. It is truly a major business issue. However, things like what you're about to share are what helps entrepreneurs and just anyone using the internet, as a matter of fact, to be able to say, okay, here's some solid ground I can stand on, so they don't have to be panicked. Because the thing, something I learned in dynamic environments, the person that panics gets eaten first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So the person that can look at it and go, okay, here's how I'm going to respond. Here's the steps I'm going to take, to respond to this situation, have a better, no guarantees, but a better shot at coming through in good shape.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Think through stuff. Absolutely.
Oh no, not that. I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So tell us about the acronym.
Okay, so really quick, the acronym that we use is called HUBS, HUBS, right? Okay. So for a WordPress site or any site, really, it starts with stands for hosting. Get good quality hosting. When you buy these packages that are $50 for a year and include the domain, you're sharing resources with people you don't know. Okay. And who knows what's going to happen on their sites that could affect your sites, site.
So you can get affected by somebody else that's sharing that hosting site that doesn't have good security, and all of the effort you put into it ends up.
Not for nothing, but you can have to deal with problems. So make sure you have a good hosting company. You get a good hosting plan. That's, not these cheapo things, but a good reputable hosting company or a web developer, right? Talk to them about this stuff. So the H is for hosting. The U stands for updates. Okay. We talked about updates, keeping all of your software updated. If you don't do it, whoever you hire to do it, they need to do it on a regular basis. And they should have a plan for when there is, all of a sudden a security hole discovered. So keep updates. And the B stands for backups. Okay. Now, if you don't have backups, you're just waiting for trouble. Now, backups should be done when I say online and offline. And what I mean by that is, like, you can have your hosting company do that, for example, or you can install a plugin to do it or whatever. But you really need to make sure that you do something with those backups. Make sure you can have them there with the hosting account, but you should have them offline as well in case that company, something crazy happens. Right. Sure. Because I've had situations where I've talked to people and they've said, they come to me because these companies that they've worked with have not been able to restore a backup. They find out, oh my gosh, the latest one that they had was 5 months ago. And because they had a glitch in their system when they needed it. It's big companies that happens. So you need to have it online and offline, like take it offline and put it into Amazon S3 or Dropbox or something like that, where it just gives you a second level of confidence that you can restore just in case something happens.
Sure. Okay. Something that you control so that you're not 100% at someone else's mercy in terms of their systems and discipline.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the S stands for security. Make sure you know what's going on if you're doing WordPress, you can get some good security plugins. Some of them are for free. I recommend the professional version and, pay for that. And a lot of times these security plugins will help monitor things. They'll use services that will scan on a regular basis your site to make sure that nothing got in there. So that's one of the things I recommend. So HUBS, hubs, hosting, updates, backup, and security.
Hosting, updates, backup, and security. I like that. It's easy to remember.
Yeah. That's how I can remember it. Otherwise, I can remember it.
That's good. Well, it's a good starting point, and something that I noticed one of the services that you offer through pro website creators is a 28-point security lockdown. So it really seems as that just goes beyond the basic security that most people are familiar with.
Yeah. Because, one of the things that you want to make sure, I'll just give you a couple of examples. One is, we make sure that we scan your site twice a day to look for vulnerabilities. If there is some software that's been reported in database, because there's a lot of people looking for this stuff, if something has been reported, then it will let us know by an email, so we can jump on it right away. So that's one. Another thing is, with WordPress, I'll give you two more. Another thing with WordPress is typically you'll go to log in to your domain name /wp-login.php or wp-admin, right? But guess what? If you know that, and it's common with 42% of the sites out there, then these hackers know that as well. So they can go to that page. They automatically know exactly where to log in. So one of the things that we do is we will hide that behind a longer URL. A longer address. So in other words, they go to your domain name /wp-admin or wp-login, and they get a 404. It's like they can't even try to log in. So that's one. And then the other thing is that we'll do is we will automatically ban people if somebody tries with their IP address to log into your site with the username admin, because that's the default with WordPress. For whatever reason, they've done that. They keep doing that. Then we ban them, and we make sure that there is no user admin usernames named admin, because you've got when people log in, they need a username and a password. Well, the username is, if then it's only a matter of time they can maybe more easily guess passwords and log in. But if they have to do both username and password, it's a little bit harder. So when you do all of these different things, you start adding it up, things get harder and harder and harder. So it takes more and more sophistication for somebody to get in. So that's what you're doing. You're putting up barrier after barrier after barrier, and we make sure we do that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's some great insights. I'm watching the time, and we are right at half past, and I promised we'd keep this to 30 minutes. And so I apologize. We're going to run just a little bit over, because I wanted to ask, because I wanted to ask this, what are you working on now? What's next for you and Pro Website Creators?
Well, one of the things that we're working on is we're doing we like to do custom sites because it's more fun. It takes advantage of our strengths as a company, because we're constantly learning new things, we're constantly solving problems. So we do custom sites. So that's kind of where we're at, and we're continuing to make sure we provide that value through e-commerce. Right. So that's for us is more of a sweet spot. We like e-commerce because there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of great things that can be done to enhance a client's sales that a lot of people just don't know or take advantage of. So we like that.
Awesome. And how can people get in touch with you? How can we keep in touch, learn more, or get some help with your custom website building services?
Yeah, the easiest thing is just to go to our website, prowebsitecreators.com. And you can,
we've got that.
There it is.
Prowebsitecreators.com.
You just go there and you can check out what we've got. You can also send us an email at help@prowebsitecreators.com, or fill out the contact form that's there. But that's really the best and the easiest way. Fantastic.
Dave, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us, share a few tips on the cybersecurity, because it's I think it's gotten to the point where it can be really an emotionally charged issue, because there's so much going on, and it's beginning to get so complicated in terms of different things that the hackers are doing to break into systems, and other risks that like you said with the WordPress plugins, things we may not think about that we need to pay attention to, that are easy, well, maybe not easy, simpler to protect, that without some professional advice from someone like yourself, we would miss.
Yeah, and it's one of the things we like to do with our clients is educate them on this as well. And I think with anything else, it's just a constant, you got to beat the drum and continue to educate yourself and continue to educate them. And of course, keep an eye out. There's some more and more sophisticated stuff going on, especially with emails. If you had another minute, I'd give you a really good example that we're sending out to our clients here. Okay. You got a minute?
Yep.
Okay. So you've seen some of the phishing emails. Obviously, you get them. Everybody gets them. And normally, if you look at them, you can kind of tell because they'll have words misspelled or the grammar is not good or something like that, right? That's one way. But what we're seeing is, and we're seeing it more and more, they're getting better and better at duplicating real emails so they look good. Like, for example, there's an email that I got from Amazon. It supposedly is Amazon, but it looks like Amazon. The buttons look the same, the fonts, everything, saying, hey, click here to check your order. There's a problem, right? Well, you click there on that button and it goes to some crazy phishing site, right? So, and so one of the things that people are doing when you look at who this email is coming from, like the domain, they will, they'll change the domain name slightly so that it looks, if you're casually reading it, it'll look like it's the legitimate email address from the domain. So for example, it could be coming from info@amazontech.com, right? Okay, that sounds pretty reasonable. But what they do is they'll misspell it and they'll say info@Amazon with, instead of the O in Amazon, they'll replace that with an E and they get that domain.
Oh.
And so a quick look at that, you'll be like, okay, that's Amazon, but it's not. So
wow. That's really getting devious.
So yeah. And so if there's anything that you suspect, if like an order or something like that comes in, just go to log in normally to Amazon. The other thing that you can do with most email programs is you can take your mouse and right click on the button or the link or whatever they send, and copy the URL and throw it into a text editor and look at it. Does it look right?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So I do that all the time. Time if something comes. And so I know most of the time I can tell, but I'm definitely not perfect. If I'm in a rush, I could definitely click on something wrong, but at least if I have one little thing that I'll, copy it and look, then that's a little bit of a barrier for me to get
well,
stuck.
and that's a great point. It's become a security must to be more mindful with any email that we open.
Yes.
And to, and have time blocked to be able to go through the email, take a look at it to make sure, use the techniques that you're talking about to make sure it's really coming from where it looks like it's coming from before acting on it.
Yeah. I've even seen emails that look like they're coming from a WordPress site, one of our client site, that will say, click here because your database needs to be upgraded. It looks like a normal email, but it's like, so they're getting clever. You just have to watch. And when in doubt, that's one of the things that I tell our clients is when in doubt, when something comes up, just ask us, forward it to us. We'll take a look. If there's anything that you're like suspicious or whatever, we'll take a look.
Sage advice.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you so much.
Pro
Website Creators, as you're watching this, go to Pro Website Creators for more information. Get in touch with Dave and his team. They're bringing a lot to the table to help you be more effective on the net, doing business, but also having better security so that your business isn't getting disrupted.
Yep. Sounds awesome. Okay.
That's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching Wolf's Watch. This is our fourth episode on cybersecurity. We've got another one coming up, and we'll announce the date on that pretty soon. And thank you for watching. And remember, this is 21st century television, right? This is live and interactive. Share your comments, and we want to hear your questions. Get them answered when we're live. If not, if you're watching this on replay, still post your questions in the comments. We watch that, and we'll make sure we get them answered for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the trail.